Hi, I'm Mark Ballard. This is my Genuinely Southern podcast where I will share Southern stories and perspectives that show just how unique our South is. Growing up in the South gives people a little different perspective to life. I've always used the South to inspire me in my artwork, my writings, and even my food. I've been telling stories about the South for years. In my newspaper articles, my magazines, I even had a television show. The South is more than a region to me. It's genuinely a way of life. That's why I'm excited to share these Southern stories with you and introduce you to interesting people. I'm proud to be genuinely Southern, and I can't wait to tell you why. I'm Mark Ballard, and I'm really excited. I am now fixing to do a podcast. This is my very first one, and I've got a very special guest with me. But I was telling my wife the other day, this is the only time that I have ever just talked and didn't have to be creating a wreath or cooking something or whatever, so this is going to be fun. Sitting in front of me, I'm going to use my notes for this because it was too much to say. I've got Chuck Leavell, a Maconite, husband, father, grandfather, musician, author of numerous books, internet presence, a tree farmer, philanthropist, and one of the nicest Southern gentlemen you'll ever meet. I've bumped into you in the Kroger before. Yeah. I'm thinking, is that Chuck in the Kroger? Yeah, there he is. He's in the Kroger. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm honored. I'm sitting in front of greatness to have my first one be you.
Pleasure to be with you, my friend.
Perfectly. Okay, let's start with, because I don't know any of this. When did you learn to play the piano, for instance?
I learned from my mom.
She was a pianist?
She could play. She was not a teacher, not a instructor or anything like that, not a professional. We grew up in Alabama, and I was the youngest of three children, and oftentimes me and Mom in the house when I'm 5, 6 years old with my older brother and sister in school and Dad out working, so tug on her skirt, Mama, play me something.
Yeah.
She would oblige, and I would just get all excited, watching her hands go up and down, listening. And so she was my first inspiration.
Mine was the same. What would we do without our mothers, right? I'm going to tell you this real quick. Mother wanted us, both my sister and me, to take piano lessons. So when I took mine, I could not read music. I could hear it and I could play a rough version of it back, but that lady wanted every note played,
Oh, yeah.
It was frustrating to her. I didn't want to do it. I dreaded the day to come. And so finally she said, you are wasting my time and your parents' money. And I said, good, I don't want to be doing it anyhow because I can't read the music. And so guess what? She gave her the refund back in sheet music.
Did she really? Okay.
So I think that got me, I can't read it. We want our cash back.
Very gracious of her.
Okay, so what age did you start playing the piano?
Well, just fooling around with it, Mark, probably age 5, 6. And it was nothing serious, just sitting with my mother, letting her show me very simple things. I stuck with the instrument, even though very much as you described, I took lessons for a brief 6 months, had the same problem you did with reading music. I could hear things pretty easily and imitate, but gave up the lessons. But I always gravitated back to the instrument. And then, of course, rock and roll came into the picture when I was a little older, and the 13, 14 years old. My cousin played guitar, showed me some things on guitar. Had my first band at that age, 14.
That's unbelievable.
And it became an enterprise for me pretty early. Our band, The Misfits, M-I-S-F-I-T-Z.
Of course.
Of course. The Misfits played the YMCA every Friday night. We had a steady gig. Then the first television station came to Tuscaloosa, where I grew up mostly. And they wanted to emulate American Bandstand. They initiated a program very cleverly and creatively called Tuscaloosa Bandstand. Okay. And we were the band. So we had Friday night at the Y, Saturday morning. We got paid in both instances, and it became an enterprise. And I was like, oh, wow, you can actually make money when you're 14, 15 years old. That's doing
cool.
This.
You got to be a bag boy at the grocery store?
No. And I just fell in love with making music. And this was the era One of the fortunate things about growing up in the South is not only did you have the influence of country, R&B, soul music, gospel, but you had British invasion during that era in the 60s. And so, there was all these influences and wonderful musics coming from all different directions, and our band played with a little bit of all of it, and that was a great thing for the experience and for learning.
Right. So I read something about the moment you decided you wanted to turn that into your life, career was when you, after seeing Ray Charles.
Very true, yes. My sister had a date to go see Ray. I was already interested in music. I guess we're going back to 12, 13 years old maybe. We had that wonderful album called Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music that Ray did, and they had I Can't Stop Loving You and all this wonderful music on it, and we heard it in our house. And I love that voice, that husky, deep,
right.
incredible voice, And so Judy had a date to go see Ray at the Tuscaloosa Coliseum. My parents had another engagement. They didn't want to leave me alone at home, and so they asked Judy, "Can't you take Chuck?"
It's sort of like a little babysitting thing.
And she very graciously agreed to do that, and so I went with them and was just absolutely blown away. It was not only Ray, who was amazing and always will be amazing,
Right.
but you had Fathead Newman on sax, you had the Raylettes singing, you had Billy Preston playing organ at the time, another one of my heroes.
Right.
And it was just a life-changing experience. I walked out of that room saying, doctor, lawyer, salesman, no, musician. If I could ever be in a band or a situation, not necessarily playing that exact kind of music, but if I could ever be in a band that would move people the way that just moved me,
Right.
that's not a bad goal.
That is beautiful. That's the way I feel about my artwork. When somebody, or something I write, when I have a column, if it's touched somebody, then we got a double. You're fulfilled and you've helped somebody else, and you don't ever know how many people you've really touched. What would you say to someone that was young and maybe they liked music and maybe they wanted to play the piano or some other instrument? I heard you play the tuba too.
That was junior high school for a short period of time, but it did help me understand something about ensemble playing, learning to listen to the other instruments in the orchestra while you're doing your own part. And that was helpful at a young age. Yeah.
So what would you say, because people come up to me and ask me that all the time, to somebody, because you had a strong mother that was and your biggest cheerleader like me, mine was with me, but if they didn't have that, what advice would you give them if they dreamed big and wanted to do something?
Well, look, no matter what you're calling in life, hopefully you find a passion for it. But it's work, man. You don't just fall into it.
Right.
It takes focus, concentration. It takes heart and soul, and you got to be interested in it, hopefully, and enjoy it. But you got to spend the time in learning your craft, whatever that craft is, And that can be difficult at times, but it can be very rewarding when you have some breakthroughs, as a musician, that's what that chord is.
Right.
Oh, man. And
you were exposed to a lot of different kinds of music, too, that had to help.
Well, yeah, that has been helpful, the diversity, and the fact in my career that I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of different artists,
Right.
to work with the Allmans early on, Greg is a solo artist, and Dickie is a solo artist. The other artists that came through Capricorn
Right.
Studios during those years, Bonnie Bramlett, Bobby Whitlock, and so many others. But then later on, working with Eric Clapton and George Harrison, thank you.
Wow.
To David Gilmour and the Black Crowes and Blues Traveler. That's been the real joy of my career, is being able to be in these different situations and do my best to contribute to whatever that is.
So Capricorn Records here in Macon was a big deal back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, right?
Yes, it was, absolutely.
So you were all tied in with that.
It's the reason I came to Macon, Mark. You know, I was in Alabama growing up. Spent a little time in Muscle Shoals. As you know, that was also a hotbed of recording. But
you were there very young. I heard that was really impressive for somebody your age to even be there.
it was a learning experience. I didn't get a lot of work because there were older, more experienced musicians there when I was 15, 16 years old, trying to
Thinking, I hate this guy.
I'd kind of hit a brick wall there because the older musicians, the more experienced musicians, were going to get the cream of the recording sessions, and you know I would get the dribbles, the crumbs. But I did have some good experiences there. But I had this realization: well, you know, if I want to try to make it in Muscle Shoals, it's going to take a long time. And I had heard about Capricorn Records. I had heard about Capricorn Studios. Of course, I was very familiar with the Allman Brothers band. They had already released their first album. And even the second album, Idlewild South, at this time. Now, I had a mentor, a good friend named Paul Hornsby. You probably know
yes,
Paul's still a great friend.
Right.
Paul was actually in the precursor of the Allman Brothers band called the Hourglass. They had gone, it was Greg and Dwayne, Paul, and some other musicians. They had gone to California. They had done 2 records. Things weren't really working out great. The band broke up. Dwayne came back east and started doing these incredible recording sessions with Wilson Pickett and Aretha Franklin. Eventually formed the Allman Brothers band. Paul spent time with me and formed a band with me called the South Camp in Tuscaloosa, and we were playing clubs. But Paul had become a mentor and a friend. So Paul gets called to come to Macon, Georgia. You know, he gets a call from the company, and because of Dwayne's association with Capricorn. And I'm losing my guy. He's leaving Tuscaloosa to go to Macon. I said, what the heck is going on in Macon, Georgia, you know? I better go check this out. So I got in my 65 Olds Cutlass station wagon with a friend, bass player, and we drove to Macon, Georgia. We were given the tour of the studio, state-of-the-art studio at the time. There was a booking agency called Paragon, so they were booking the bands for live concerts. We were given a tour of the offices, all you know, pretty fancy stuff, and personnel in there. Phil Walden, the president, and Frank Fender, the vice president. The trip, that first initial trip, was so impressive to see all this stuff, you know, to see the recording studio, the offices, everything was official, and they were looking for musicians. You know, they were like, Chuck, come on over here. We're looking for people, as opposed to the situation in Alabama, which would have been spending a lot of years trying to move up that ladder. But so that's what attracted me to Macon, and I'm glad it did.
You just got in your station wagon, and here you came.
I said, looks like opportunity to me. I think I better come on over here. Now, that was 1969 that I had the first visit, and then I moved over in earnest in 1970 and made my way up the ladder.
Met Rose Lane.
Yeah, I met Rose Lane. You know, fact was, when the doors of Capricorn offices opened up, there were 2 beautiful women, one of which is my wife of 53 years now. One was this gorgeous African-American woman named Carolyn Brown. She was Phil Walden's assistant. And the other one was Rose Lane White and Brown. And they were great friends. And, you know, here comes this kid. I think I was 17 at the time. And
you got an early start, that's for sure.
I did.
And so this is a guy from Alabama coming in there, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get a date with this girl. So y'all started dating.
The first date we had was New Year's Eve of 1972, going into 73. Rose Lane had been responsible for putting together one of the first ever simulcasts, which involved radio stations all across the country coordinating a live event. And the event was the Allman Brothers band playing at the Warehouse in New Orleans on the New Year's Eve. And so Rose Lane had been largely responsible for coordinating all of this. And the company said, well, since you worked so hard on it, you need to come down to New Orleans for the show, which she did. There was a dinner, which we sat together, and we've been together ever since that dinner.
Yeah, it was meant to be, right? I do believe that kind of things happen. All right, tell me about how you got involved with the Rolling Stones.
Well, I guess let me back up and say that one of the biggest fans of the Allman Brothers band was a promoter named Bill Graham. A lot of people may know that name. Bill ran the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West. They were very famous venues for rock and roll players of every genre you can imagine. And he loved the Allman Brothers band, Bill did. And Bill became tour director for the Rolling Stones in 1981. The band wanted to try some new blood, and Bill, having been a fan, said, well, there's this guy down in Georgia, maybe you ought to put him on the list. So I get a call out of the blue from his office, and within 36 hours, I was on a plane for an audition. How about that?
That's where you call, putting yourself in the right position for something great.
And I did not get the gig immediately. I had a great audition. It was supposed to be one day. It wound up being 3 days. I felt like things had gone really well. But the band decided that they had a tour that was imminent at the time of the U.S., and they had been using a guy that was very close to Ronnie Wood, a guy named Ian McLagan, great piano player that played with the Faces. Of course, right. Ronnie Wood was in the Faces. And so Mac, as we call him, had done the previous tour with the band, previous couple of tours, I think. And so while there was, two different thoughts going on, some of the guys wanted me, obviously Ronnie wanted to keep Mac, and they decided to play it safe and keep Mac for that tour. But at the end of it, I get the call saying, we're going to tour Europe in '82 next year in the summer, and you're on.
Wow.
So that's when the gig.
How did that feel?
It felt great. It really did. As just a little caveat, during that '81 tour, and some people may remember this, the Stones came to Atlanta and they played an unannounced show at the Fox Theater. And I think the marquee might have read The Cockroaches, right? And of course, the secret got out the morning of the event, but I got a call the day before from Ian Stewart, who was a confidant of the band and had become a good friend. And Stu, as we called him, Stu said, we're going to be in your backyard. Would you like to come have a bash? So I went up and sat in with them on that show. And that kind of rekindled the relationship, and I think eventually resulted in getting the gig.
Have you ever had Mick Jagger or any of the Stones out here too?
No, there was a time Mick was in a film, not one that people would know much about, a not so good sci-fi film called Free Jack. And he was filming in Atlanta, and we had a plan for him to come and spend a day on a day off. Well, it absolutely poured with rain. And so we spoke that morning. He said, what do you think? I said, well, you can see some mud, you know.
Georgia mud. Georgia mud.
And we canceled it, unfortunately. That was the only time, but we came close anyway.
So when you think about Macon from what was going on in the late 60s, 70s, Capricorn, Phil Walden, all that, how do you think all that played a part in what's happening now with all the, renovation and with all the stuff that Otis Redding Foundation's doing, all that? I mean, you've seen a full gambit of artists from here.
Shout out to Zelma and Carla and Justin and all the Reddings. What a beautiful family, and what a great thing, philanthropic that they do for the community, the new Otis Redding Center for the Arts, which is fabulous, and they've always been engaged, as everyone knows. Yeah. Well, it feels good to be a part of that community, the musical community that existed from the late 60s and on through 1980. And then, of course, Capricorn went bankrupt. The record company went bankrupt. and the studio went dark for a long, long time. And it was, those were sad years for Macon. You know, I mean, for me, it were great years because I wound up playing with the Rolling Stones, with Eric Clapton, with a lot of other artists, and I was able to maintain my career. But now to see it be revived, I am so elated and happy to see the revival of Macon, Georgia, downtown especially. Mercer University has been a great driver. Mercer was largely responsible for renovating and reopening Capricorn Studios, which I'm very, very happy about. And to see it being used by a younger set of musicians and artists. Brent Cobb has been using the studio. His name is pretty well known around. Marcus King has done a couple of records there. I have a television program called America's Forests, and I do all my voiceovers there, and have done some other, bits of music at Capricorn Studios for that program. So to be a part of it still now, to see it revive, to see it come back, to see the legacy continue in Macon, that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. How often do you perform now?
Well, my association with the Stones is now 43 years. Now, that's not to say that we do something every year. There's been times when we don't work for a year or whatever. The band did have plans for a European tour in 2025, but they got called off, and then again in 2026. That's not to say that everything is over with. I think there's a good chance we may do something perhaps next year. For my own career, I have a documentary that maybe you're familiar with called Chuck Leavell, The Tree Man, which I was very grateful to be able to get done. And so I have been able to do some performances where we take an edited version of that documentary, 15, 20-minute version, and then I take the stage with a piano and a moderator, and we talk about my career. I play certain songs that I'm known for from different artists, and that makes for a very fun presentation.
Absolutely.
And so I've been doing those shows. I've also been doing shows with my band, which I always try to get my good friend Randall Bramlett, who was with me in the band Sea Level and who has an amazing career of his own and is, in my opinion, probably the best singer-songwriter from the South these days, or from the country, really. Randall's just an amazing artist. And so we do shows together. We have one coming up, and we'll have more in the future this year. So I remain active and able to do these different things when I'm not touring with the Stones. I get the occasional call for a recording session, which I enjoy doing, mostly at Capricorn. Plug.
The plug in downtown Macon.
Yeah, in downtown Macon. So, Mark, I use the word balance a lot. And one of the things that I've been so fortunate about is to have a balance of two different careers. I love my career in music. I've been very fortunate. But to have this career in environmentalism, forestry, outdoor issues, nature, the TV program, the books that I've written, a children's book called The Tree Farmer, a book called Forever Green, The History and Hope of the American Forest, a book that's focused on smart growth called Growing a Better America. I have a deep, deep passion for the outdoors and for natural lands. And so to have that balance, when I'm out on tour, what happens? Well, you're traveling, you're in big cities, you're with beep, beep, honk, honk, electric energy all the time, big crowds. And to be able to come from that
to
here
this
to
peaceful,
Shoreline,
to this peaceful place,
hear the sound of wind in the pines, that's a wonderful balance for me. And I think it helps keep my head screwed on straight.
It's almost like a sanctuary.
It is.
Where you come back and refuel, I guess.
Very much, very much. And so I'm very fortunate to have both of those things.
So tell me a little bit about where we are, Charlene. Is this Twiggs County?
This is Twiggs County. I'm proud to be a Twiggs County resident since 1981. now. Love our county and love all the people that live here.
But this was Roselane's family.
You know, when we first started dating and it came time we decided to get married, and she said, "You got to meet my family." And I said, "You know, you've never really told me anything about your family." She said, "Well, you'll see." She didn't reveal anything.
That's always scary anyhow, right?
Come to find out, they were all farmers. They had a legacy of stewardship of the land. There was row cropping going on, cattle farming, forestry, anything to do with the outdoors, with nature. They were connected, and I found that to be incredible, and I could feel the love and passion that they had for the land. I'll tell you a quick story, though. Her father was named Al White, Alton. And when I first came out, you know, here I am, long-haired hippie boy, hair down to here, you know, playing in a rock band. Mr. Al got all the boys together, and I heard this through an uncle that told me this story. He said, Chuck, Mr. Al got all the boys together, and he said, "Look here, Rosaline's bringing this boy out here, and he's a little different. He's in a band. It's not a country band.
Right.
It's one of them rock outfits up in Macon. And apparently he's a little different. I understand he's got long hair, might have a beard. I don't know if he's got tattoos or whatever. But apparently they're getting pretty serious, boys. So I don't want y'all making fun of him." So thank you, Mr. Al.
That's right. That's right.
But they graciously opened their arms to me. They really did, right from the beginning. And it's just been a beautiful thing for me to become a part of that family, which I am very much of now. And, of course, we have nieces and nephews and great nieces and great nephews, and just proud to be a part of this family from Twiggs County.
Well, you hooked up with the right family, right?
I did.
How many acres do you have out here?
Well, Rosalane inherited about 1,000 acres in '81 from her grandmother. Since then, we've made acquisitions, and we have right at about 4,000 acres now. We have several events that we have here. We do offer quail hunting. Yeah. The traditional southern quail hunt here at Charlene during the season. Of course, that's a seasonal thing from middle October to the middle of March. But we also have retreats that we support here and have folks come out here to have business meetings, and sometimes
a beautiful place, right?
You know, it's away from the hustle and bustle, and people can focus on whatever their issues might be, whether it's a business retreat or whether it's a retreat for fun. We have families to come out and stay. We can take people on a forestry tour and explain to them what we're doing with our land, help educate them a little bit on natural issues, environmental issues, and so forth. Also, you know, the importance of forestry to all of us.
Right.
Forest products.
For our offspring as well. I mean, you're planning for the future.
Yeah. So we even yoga retreats.
I heard that they were coming tomorrow.
Yeah, we have tomorrow morning. We have a yoga retreat coming, so we're excited about that. And so we've found ways to use the land, hopefully for positive results, for people to educate themselves a little bit, help educate them, and to just enjoy the outdoors.
Right. Well, you know, the minute you turn into the dirt road to get here, you can just feel a peace taking over you, especially when you're in some of the bigger cities. I can see how that would just be, I can't wait to get back home.
I do. I wrote a song, a nice instrumental one year. This was right at the end of a Rolling Stones tour, and we had been out for, months on end, you know. And it had been a great tour, but it was coming to the end, and I was thinking about home. I was thinking about Charlene and the family and everything. And so I wrote a piece called Coming Home. Oh. And that's the theme song that you hear at the beginning of my television program. So cool. Home is always in my heart,
So you're able to incorporate your musical stuff with your new life. Well, that is unbelievable. So I guess you're just as comfortable on a tractor as you would be on a piano band.
I love my tractors, Mark. I do. I love it. And, you know, we have other machinery out here, skid steers, and I just I just bought this machine that we call the Beast. And some people will know what this is, but a lot of people won't know.
Okay.
It's called a dedicated forest mulcher. It's one of these things you sometimes see on the side of highways that has a rotating drum head, and it'll just clear land. And it does such a beautiful job. It's organic because it shreds the debris that you're trying to get rid of, and it just remains on the earth and creates organic matter in the soil. And so we,
like a recycling of soil.
And I love the machinery, man. I love being on those things and trying to improve the land as we go and see the results of that improvement.
Right. So how many, just one more question about that, I know that we passed lots of houses and things, how many was on the property initially?
Well, really it was just Rose Lane's grandmother's house that we live in now. That's the house that we live in. We've done several renovations through the years. It was built in 1855, I believe. It is on the historic register. So it was really just that one building. Now we have about 10.
Yeah, we kept passing them the thicker we got into the woods.
We have some rental properties. We have houses that some of our employees live in and work with us on. We were able to buy this tract back in '91, and it had a wonderful old house that we called the Ballard House. This community is known as Ballard, and it was settled by a gentleman named Dan Ballard. The Ballard House was built in 1835. We were able to renovate it. Took about a year to do so, and it's also now on the historic register as well. So we enjoy that aspect of trying to make old things new again and keep history alive.
That's fantastic. The work you're doing is fantastic. We're sitting in the lodge, which is incredible.
This is what we call the lodge. We built it in 2005. It is built 98% out of all of our own wood. Mostly dead or dying pine trees. When I'm driving around or walking around or getting around the place, I'm always looking up to see if there's any dead tops of pine trees. If I see that, if it's feasible, I'll take them down. And it was my brother-in-law for a time, now it's my nephew, has a sawmill about 5 miles from here. So we cut the trees down, delimb, buck them up, put them on a trailer, take them over there and get them sawn into lumber. And that's the result of not only the lodge here, but our barn, horse barn, all of our pasture fencing, and the renovation of our own home is largely comes from wood off of our place.
Just for people that might not know or reference, this is not very far from Macon. You're just out about how many miles?
25 miles southeast of Macon, off of Interstate 16 on the way to Savannah. People might know the Segota Road exit or the Jeffersonville Bullard Road exit. There's the Bullard name again, Jeffersonville Bullard Road. That's an exit.
One letter off from my last name.
There you go. Ballard Bullard.
Ballard Bullard. I've been called everything.
We're cousins, man.
I know, right? Right. Well, this has been a pleasure. I mean, Chuck, as you can tell, he is a busy man. And to have you, it's such an honor for me to have you spend this time with me on my next adventure for me. We're always reinventing ourselves. Well, look at what you've done for Macon and in Macon.
Well, it's been a joy. Macon's been good to me, and it's been a wonderful place to live and to work and to meet all the wonderful people that are in the community like yourself, and to interact and to have fun. Enjoy the community. It's a wonderful community.
You're like me in the respect when you get to do something that you have, like you mentioned earlier, the passion for. It didn't like work, right? You don't. Yeah. And when people say about retirement, when you retire, we will be doing it until we take our last breath, right?
That's right. And I don't know what the R word means really. Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, it's been a real joy and a great opportunity, and love my life here, man.
And I couldn't think of a better place to be than this beautiful land, and to hear you talk about your early times and Macon. You were in the middle of that when it was in the moving and shaking period with Capricorn. And I can't forget Rose Lane. I love her.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Mark, listen, You've been a great asset to Middle Georgia and the Macon area. You're a great artist yourself and have made your own mark. I think it's wonderful now that you've got a podcast to share some of your talents with others. So
That's so sweet.
it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
That was all mine. Thanks so much, Chuck.
All right, man. You got it.
Thanks for joining our conversation. One of my favorite things to do is share tales of our unique South. I hope you're going to come back because there's always more. Thank you to our sponsors at Carlisle Place at Home. Check out at Mark Creates on Instagram and shop my artwork on Etsy. Hosted by Mark Ballard, Genuinely Southern is a podcast by Creek Media. The show is produced by Mark and Deborah Ballard and produced and edited by Stephanie Shadden. Follow us on social media at Gen South Pod and message us with questions you'd like to hear discussed on future episodes. Engage with us, like us, subscribe, share with a friend. Be sure to stream this and more podcasts you may love at streamthecreek.com.